Hi there, it's me again, Sir Ed. So for today, you will be watching the third part of my demonstration in solving quadratic equations. This time, we will use completing the squares. Okay, so today, or for now, I will present to you the objectives. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to solve quadratic equations by, of course, completing the squares. Okay, so but before we proceed to our preliminary activity, let's have a review first, or let's have a recall about perfect square trinomials. So what are perfect square trinomials? These are quadratics, which are the results of squaring binomials. Okay, so for example, we have 4r squared plus 24 plus 36. This is an example of a perfect square trinomial wherein if you will factor, if you will factor 4r squared plus 24r plus 36, it will give you 2r plus 6 multiplied by 2r plus 6, which can be shortened as 2r plus 6 quantity square. Okay? So it means daw na kapag ni-square natin si 2r plus 6, no? It will give us 4r squared plus 24r plus 36. Okay, so how many terms do we have? Of course, we have three terms since this is a trinomial. Tri means 3. So we have 4r squared, 24r, and 36. Okay, sir. How to identify if the trinomial is a perfect square trinomial? Okay, so how to identify that? Kailangan the first term and the third term are both perfect square terms. So how? Ito. For example, we have here 4r squared. 4r squared, the base is a perfect square which is number 4. Ito yung base natin for perfect square yan kasi ito ay resulta ng 2 times 2. Okay, so that is a perfect squared number. Tapos, yung exponent natin ay 2, which is even number. So, kapag ang base ng term ay perfect square at ang exponent ng term ay even number, then the first term is a perfect square term, or the term is perfect square term. So, example pa niyan ay 25r square or 25r raised to 4 or 25r raised to 6. Ganon din dito. 4r raised to 4, 4r raised to 6. Those are perfect square terms. Now, let's go to third term, which is 36. 36 is a result when you multiply 6 to itself. So, 6 times 6 is equal to 36. Therefore, the third term is also a perfect square term. Now, if the first term and the third term are both perfect square, then the trinomial is called a perfect square trinomial. Okay? Or when you take the square root of 4r square, it will give you 2r. If you take the square root of 36, it will give you 6. Now let's go to our preliminary activity. For our preliminary activity entitled Complete Me, we will identify the missing term of each perfect square trinomial by observing the pattern and using these following algebra types. So we have here the large blue square represented for x squared, the pink rectangle for x, the yellow rectangle for negative x, and the green or the small green rectangle for 1. Okay, so for this one, I will do the first example. Then for the second to fourth example will be your turn to answer. Okay, let's have the first example. So we have here a set of tiles and a missing and a space. Na meron tayong space dito where we can put the missing tiles. Okay, so we have one large blue square, so that will be 1x squared. And we also have four pink rectangles, so that will be 4x. Now, how many green tiles are missing? So ilang kaya? Very good. There are four green tiles missing. So anong ginawa natin? We multiply this side to this side. So we have here 2. We also have here 2. And 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay, so 4 will complete this term. Or will complete this expression rather. Okay, by the way, this perfect square trinomial represents this set of tiles. So we have four green tiles, we have four pink rectangles, and we have one large blue square. Next, okay, this will be your turn. I will give you 5 seconds to answer. How many green tiles are missing? Very good. There are 9 green tiles missing. So, ano uli ginawa natin? Minultiply natin to dito. So, 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And again, this trinomial represents this set of tiles. So, we have 6 yellow rectangles. So, that is negative 6x. We have one large blue square, that is x squared, and we have 9 green tiles or 9 small green tiles or small square. So 9, okay? Next example. So this time yellow tiles. How many yellow tiles are missing? So as you can see, we have very good. We have 8 yellow tiles missing. So that is 8x. Okay? So meron tayo ditong 4 and meron tayo ditong 4. 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. Okay. So again, this trinomial represents the set of tiles. Last example, how many green tiles are missing? Okay, so the answer is 36. There are 36 green tiles missing. So 6 times 6 is 36. So have you observed the pattern? Wait lang. Mm, Okay, now let's have this example. So what will complete x squared plus 12x? What should be the third term so that we can say this expression is a perfect square trinomial? Okay, so to identify that, ang gagawin natin is take the numerical coefficient of the middle term, which is 12. Kukunin natin yung kalahati ng 12. So 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. Then get the square of 6. 6 square is equal to 6 times 6, which is equal to 36. So again, kunin ang kalahati ng numerical coefficient ng middle term, then kunin yung square ng kalahati ng numerical coefficient ng middle term to get the third term. So again, 12 divided by 2, 6. 6 square is equal to 36. So that is the pattern. Okay? Second example, this time nawawala naman ang middle term. Okay? So we have here 16. Kukunin natin yung 16. We will get the square root of 16, which is equal to 4. Okay? So kung kanina sa process, dito, para makuha yung third term, dito babalik rin natin. Sa second example, babalik rin natin yung process from example number 1. So instead na erase natin si 4 sa 2, dito naman to get the middle term, kukunin natin yung square ng last term. So square of 16 is, or square root of 16 rather is 4. Then yung kabaliktaran naman ng division is multiplication. So what we're going to do with 4 is we're going to multiply it to, or we're going to multiply 4 by 2. Okay? So 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Then copy the variable of the expression. Since the variable of the expression is x, then we will put the variable x beside dun sa nakuha nating number, which is 8. Okay, so therefore, we have now the perfect square. We have now the perfect square trinomial x squared minus 8x plus 16. So I hope that you followed the procedures of example number 1 and example number 2. Okay, so baliktaran lang yun. No? Okay, so for the second activity, you will identify the missing terms of each perfect square trinomial. I will give you 15 seconds to answer the 5 items. Timer starts now. Okay, time is up. Time is up. Let's answer. For number 1, r squared plus 10r plus, very good, 25. Take half of 10, which is equal to 5, then square 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Next, number 2, we have 1. Negative 2 divided by 2 is equal to negative 1. Then negative 1 raised to 2, or negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to positive 1. Next is 14x. Square root of 49 is 7. Then multiply 7 by 2, you'll get 14. Then copy the variable of the expression, which is x. Number 4, 20a. Very good, because the square root of 100 is 10. Multiply 10 by 2 will give you 20. Then copy the variable, which is a. So we have negative 28. Last example, the answer is 121. 22 divided by 2 is equal to 11. 11 raised to 2 is equal to 11 times 11, which is equal to 121. Okay, very good. Now, let's go to expressing perfect square trinomial as a square of binomials. Okay, so bakit kailangan nyo ding makita ito? Okay, kailangan rin kasi ito in solving quadratic equation using completing the square. So, ang gagawin natin, if-factor natin ang perfect square trinomial as a square of binomials. Just like the first, or just like dun sa recall natin kanina. Okay, so let's have this example. For example, we have the perfect square trinomial x squared plus 10x plus 25. So to express this as a square of binomial, i-extract natin, we're going to extract the first term and the last term. So our first term is x squared. The last term or the third term is 25. So kukunin natin yung square root nilang dalawa. Square root of x squared is equal to x, while the square root of 25 is equal to 5. Then pagsasamahin natin yung x and 5 inside the parentheses. Okay? Then, para naman dito sa operation ng binomial, kokopyahin lang natin kung ano yung sign ng middle term. Since ang middle term natin dito is plus 10x, then ang gagamitin natin ng operation for binomial is plus. Then maglagay ng exponent sa labas ng parentheses. Okay? So, the square of binomial of the perfect square trinomial x squared plus 10x plus 25 is x plus 5 quantity square. I hope sana nakuha. Okay, next example. The next example, we have x squared minus 14x plus 49. So we have the same process. Sorry, this should be 49 rather, ha? 49 dapat yan. Okay, so square root of x squared, square root of 49. The square root of x squared is x, while the square root of 49 is 7. Then again, pagsamahin natin sa loob ng parenthesis, then kopyahin ang sign ng middle term. So, since ang middle term natin dito is minus 14x, therefore, ang operation na ilalagay natin sa loob ng binomial or sa loob ng parenthesis rather is minus sign. Then, maglagay ng exponent sa labas. So therefore, the binomial or the square of binomial of the perfect square trinomial x squared minus 14x plus 49 is x minus 7 quantity squared. Okay, for the third activity, you have to express the following perfect square trinomial as square of binomials. Okay, you may pause this video, then come back after you finished. Or once you're finished, rather. Okay, so I assume that you are now finished. Okay, so the answer for number 1 is 2x plus 5 raised, or 2x plus 5 quantity squared. Square root of 4x squared is equal to 2x. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25 is 5. Then, yung middle term natin, which is plus 20x, kukopyahin lang natin yung sign nun. Then, ilalagay natin sa loob ng parenthesis. Next, for number 2, we have x squared minus 16x plus 64. Square root of x squared is x, while the square root of 64 is 8. Then, yung middle term natin, which is negative 16, ang sign ay negative. So, this will be minus. Okay, very good. Now, let's go to our lesson proper. So, in this one, I will show you the procedures in solving quadratic equation by completing the square. So, the first step is you have to divide both sides of the equation by the value of a, then simplify it. Okay? Second step, write the equation such that the terms with variables are on the left side of the equation and the constant term is on the right side of the equation. So, ililipat natin yung constant from the left to the right. Okay? Third procedure, add the square of 1/2 of the coefficient of x on both sides of the resulting equation. The left side of the equation becomes a perfect square trinomial. So ito yung ginagawa natin kanina for activity number 2 and the preliminary activity. Okay? Number 4. Express the perfect square trinomial on the left side of the equation as a square of a binomial. So ito yung ginawa natin kanina for the third activity. Number 5. Solve the resulting quadratic equation by extracting the square root. So kung naalala nyo, extracting the square root, ito yung part 1 ng lesson natin in solving quadratic equation. Number 6, solve the resulting linear equation. So gagawin natin ito after ni procedure 5. 7, check the solutions obtained against the original equation. Okay, so now let's have this example. 2d squared plus 4d equals 16. Okay, so first procedure is to divide both or divide all terms by the value of a. Since a is equal to 2, then i-divide natin lahat ng terms by 2. Okay? So 2d squared divided by 2, that will be equal to d squared because 2 divided by 2 rather is equal to 1. So dahil hindi na natin isinusulat ang 1 beside the variable, d squared na lang ang isusulat. Next, we have 4d divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Then copy the variable in the numerator. So that is 2d equals 16 divided by 2 is equal to 8. Okay. Since the constant, as you can read this, since the constant is already on the right side, we can now skip step 2. Okay. So step 3, we have to complete the square on the left, and then we have to add 1. Okay, and also we have to add 1 on the right. So, paano natin nagawa yon? Again, katulad kanina dun sa activity 2 and preliminary, ang gagawin natin is take the half of 2, which is 1. Then, kunin natin ang square ng 1. 1 times 1 is equal to 1. So, kung ano yung in-add natin dito, yun din ang i-add natin sa kanan. Next, combine like terms. As you can see, wala tayong like terms dito sa left side, so kukopyahin lang natin yan. Pero dito sa right side, we have two constants. Therefore, we have to add these two constants. Okay? 8 plus 1 is equal to 9. Next is factor the left side. So we're going to factor d squared plus 2d plus 1. Again, as I've said earlier, d squared plus 2d plus 1 is a perfect square trinomial, and the factors of perfect square trinomial is a square of binomial. So we have 2d plus 1 here. Okay? Meron tayong dalawang d plus 1. So ang gagawin natin dito is i-express natin to as a square of binomial. So paano natin gagawin yon? Again, kokopyahin lang natin yung factors, then maglalagay tayo ng exponent sa labas. Okay? So bale, shortcut natin ito using this one. Kokopyahin mo lang yan, then maglalagay ka ng exponent na 2 sa labas. Then extract the square root of both sides. Okay, so kukunin natin yung square root ng magkabilang side. Square root of d plus 1 quantity square, kapag in-extract natin to, ang matitira na lang is d plus 1, and the square root of 9 is positive and negative 3. Okay, then split positive and negative 3, then equate each to d plus 1. So we have, si d plus 1, i-equate natin yan kay positive 3 and kay negative 3. So meron na tayong ganitong equation, okay, which is a linear. D plus 1 equals positive 3, d plus 1 equals negative 3. Then ang gagawin natin dito is solve. Okay, we are going to solve the resulting linear equation. To solve this, we're going to transfer positive 1 on the right side of the equation. So d equals 3 minus 1, and d equals negative 3 minus 1, or negative 3, negative 1. Okay, so d equals 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. And negative 3 minus 1, since they are both negative, pwede nating i-add ang negative 3 and negative 1, and it will give us negative 4. So therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 2d squared plus 4d equals 16 are 2 and negative 4. Okay, so I hope you learned something. I hope you learn about how to solve quadratic equation using completing the square, and see you on the next lesson. Thank you.